Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Outside the Box. I'm your host, Onney, the CEO, and tonight, as you know, I have another fire segment. But I have a question for you. Are you relationship ready? I mean, are you really ready for your holiday, babe? Well, I need you to buckle up your seatbelts because you're now plugged in, tuned in, tapped in to Outside the Box. All right, our holiday lovers. Now, we're starting off the last quarter of the year, and tonight I have someone that has helped me through moments of reflection. And so I reached out to him because I wanted to have him on the show. So I want you guys to give us a round of applause for Mr. Landon Taylor.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. How are you, first and foremost?
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on the show. I think this is going to be one of the first times I actually dig in for my own personal knowledge. So I'm excited to have you. I'm a little nervous even.
Don't be.
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun.
Well, I know who you are, but for those that are listening and watching, I want them to get a chance to see who you are. So.
Absolutely. So what's going on, everybody? This is Landon Taylor. You can follow me at the Landon Taylor on both Twitter and Instagram. So a little bit about me. During the day, I guess you can say I try to be a superhero for the underserved communities in the city of Houston. So working with just different neighborhoods and different people who anything from disabled to just the elderly, right? I've always been a giver at heart. Yeah. So I do that full time. And as you know, I write part-time, but first and foremost, I would say that I'm a husband first. Shout out to baby.
Shout out.
She couldn't make it today. You know, she's doing a little teacher thing.
I was excited to be there.
Yeah, we're both giving.
But, we got to have
we're going to do this again. Yeah. This part one. This part one. You know what I'm saying? It's part one.
I heard it.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's what I do. I do a lot of things. I'm also, you probably don't know, I'm also a musician. I play saxophone as well.
During my little research, digging stuff, I saw a saxophone.
Yeah, that's how I got to Houston. Yeah, first time I came to Houston, they just dropped me off. So went on back to Mississippi.
So it started with music?
Yeah, it started with music. Yeah, I've just been a lover of arts. I guess you could say.
Yeah, and you can't put us inside the box when we love art.
Outside the box.
Hey, that's why you're here tonight.
That's right.
There's not a lot of people that are very vocal and transparent about the vulnerability that men have and their perspective, and just seeing that you used your platform to be a voice for men, and it's actually making a difference. Because I can, you go to your page and you can see the people that's amen. I didn't put a few amens and 100s, and because it really touches a nerve or evokes a moment of introspection within me to reevaluate my perspective. So I want to ask you, what actually inspired you to want to become a relationship coach?
Right. So I guess for me, that began with my own journey. So this is marriage number 2 for me. Okay. A lot of people don't know that. Just people that are really close to me or have been following me for a long time. Right. So that moment came when after the divorce, I was sitting on the couch in my drawers watching 227, eating ice cream out the, like on Nutty Professor. And just realized I can't live like this anymore, right? So like you, and this is a great segue, I had to inspect what I expected, right? So I looked at, where I was in life, what my contribution to the relationship not working, or that marriage not working, and just fixing me. Right. And I knew if I was whole, that I could give the best part of me to someone else.
Now that's a good question. So once you felt like you fixed yourself, when you not to get too far into your personal life,
let's go.
When you met your wife, were you in a season of intentionally looking for a wife?
First wife or the second wife?
With the second wife, because of course now going into it, you're equipped with more knowledge and tools and experience. You know what you like, what you don't like, what you're looking for, what you're not. Some people, they meet without intentionally trying to find a significant other, whereas some people are more successful when they are intentionally dating, because they already go into it knowing that this is what I expect. So when you met her, Was you already like walking as a husband before you found your wife?
Yeah, absolutely. So from that first marriage, right, came some counseling, just making sure that my mental state was right, because I didn't want to bring the same things into the second marriage, because I knew I've always wanted to be in a relationship. I've always kind of been a relationship kind of guy, right? I knew I wanted to be a husband, right, because it felt good first time, just wasn't right. We weren't right for each other. So the second time around, I went through a lot of self-inspection and just growing, understanding women. Like that was my main thing. I was like, okay, I have to learn how to understand the woman, how you guys communicate, because we don't communicate the same. And I knew that I had to educate myself on how women communicate. Because I think that was, even though you see me now as a communicator, I wasn't that at first. So I had to learn that. And a lot of men have to learn that. So I learned how to be a better communicator. I came with a few books. 5 Love Languages was absolutely helpful.
Yeah, it was.
There was another book called His Needs, Her Needs that kind of helped out. And then I listened to a few audios, and then over time, it just came. And then at that moment, she was ready to pop up in my life, and I was ready.
Yeah. So both of you guys were actually ready when you both met.
So she wasn't as ready.
Okay.
She was coming. I had to give her a little time.
Yeah.
You know, she was finishing up her little whatever she had going on.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I let her, let her. But after a time, I made sure we made sure it was good for both of us, and we had the chemistry. And I knew just meeting her, talking to her, we liked the same books. Yeah. That compatibility was gonna be there.
Yeah. That's dope. So when you decided to go on the public service, as far as like relationship coaching, did you have a support system, or was that something that you and your wife ventured off into? Yeah,
so that was something we kind of ventured into together. I've always been just a writer, and here and there people would kind of contact and say, hey, what do you think about this situation? And I give my advice. Now, one thing I don't do is tell people if you should stay or leave, because that's a personal decision, right? Because I've seen people do that and say, yeah, girl, you should leave them. But that's not what she really wants to do, and she's going to go back. So that's one thing for sure I don't do. Just what I try to do is allow you to make that own decision. And like you said, search within yourself, and that answer will be there for you. But as far as the coaching, we decided to do that together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, once you started intentionally dating,
sure,
dating to be a husband, how did that change like the course of your decisions and how you dated?
Oh, I ain't wasting no time. It was 6 months in, and she was getting the ring.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That's a good segue, because
I ain't wasting no time.
Some people put timetables on it, but how long does it take a man to know? Like, I feel like if you know when you know when you know. Men,
so that's men and women. When you know, right? Even when you doing wrong, it's wrong. When you're doing right, it's right. For me, I will give the disclaimer. I was a little different because this is the second time around. So I had that time to say, okay, I want this, I don't want that. But also it was that time period where I grew. So I knew what I wanted, and I knew that this was the type of woman that I wanted. And
that's beautiful.
She was there. Yeah. So I mean, we knew of each other. But first date, it just kind of flew by 6 months in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I like, I love a good love story.
Yeah.
So, actually, speaking of partnership with your wife, you guys actually wrote a book. The book is called The Other Side of Goodbye. Well, you wrote a book, The Other Side of Goodbye.
Yes.
Can you tell me about what inspired that book? And it's a book of poetry, right?
It is a book of poetry. So you are probably the very first person to hear this publicly. So that actually came about as journal writing from my divorce.
Okay.
And I just kind of changed the voices to my audience, which is predominantly women. And what I like about the book and how it's structured is it takes someone from being hurt all the way to being hopeful. Yeah. Because I think that's what it's all about. Because that was my journey. Yeah.
It is. Because that leads into a question that I want to ask you about myself, because I now suffer from what I call attachment phobia. And that is really like after having repeated failed relationships and disappointments, and now that I've been a few years single and I'm really in love with that piece, that now I have a issue with attachment. And I don't know, I can't say it's fear, but it's like from a place of fear. I could say what advice could you give someone in my position? Like, I want to love, but feeling safe and being vulnerability and to allow myself. Because to me, love is allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to be hurt, but hoping that you're not going to be hurt.
Absolutely.
Because that's like jumping in and hoping that this person is really going to catch you, not in a codependent way, but,
Yeah, when you're doing it sincerely, you are giving somebody the power to destroy you.
Yeah. And
that love is the trust within that.
Yeah.
I would say give it time and really, when you look in the mirror, know that you are worth it, right? Number one. Number two is that inspection, right? Inspect what it is that you were looking for in the past, right? Are those repeated decisions that you were making and in regards to a potential mate? Is this the same type of person?
Right.
Do you need to change your emotional address? Maybe you need to go on a different way, right? Maybe, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what kind of guys you're into.
Well, that's funny because a lot of people, I'm just going to take a little commercial break. When you say guys that you're into, during my moment, now I'm sharing this, but during my moment of introspection, I've had 3 long-term relationships in my life. Okay. I'm like a serial monogamous or something. Okay. But those 3 guys were completely different from each other. I mean, completely. But at the end, the pain that came from each one of those relationships all resonated the same. So at that moment, I had to take a look in the mirror and say, okay, well, what was the common denominator in those relationships? The only common denominator in all of those relationships was me. So then I had to take a very close look at why I would allow myself to get to that point before recognizing that I deserve better or more, or I was, operating from a place of fear or codependency even. So do you, and that segues into my question of codependency versus love. Have you seen couples that kind of stick together through trauma bonding that may come to you for advice, but they have so much time invested, but they're toxic?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that even looking at the old marriages back in the day, I mean, that was codependency. A lot of things that we saw, they weren't healthy.
No.
And yeah, most people will stay because of history. They will stay because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about if you feel like you can get better, right? Some men stay because it's cheaper to keep her. Some women stay because, now
He paying all the bills.
He paying all the bills, or nobody's going to want me and I have these kids. But I will say, like you said, your peace is valuable. And I will say that there are people out there that will complement that peaceful nature that you have. So you don't have to deal with that. Like you don't have to subject yourself to, and when I say you, I mean you as in general, you don't have to subject yourself to that, right? So it's all about the communication and being intentional.
What signs would a man show towards a woman that he's genuinely interested in? I know the women probably want to hear that.
Yeah. So I would say just being consistent. Positively consistent, right? Because you can be positive, you can be consistently inconsistent. So that is.
I know about that too.
Yeah. So that's really trying to get to know her. And when I say get to know the woman, I'm not saying what nail color your favorite color. No, I'm saying what makes you tick. What happened in your childhood, right? Because a man who's really interested in a woman understands the value of protection, and that just doesn't mean I can physically protect you, but I can emotionally protect you. Like what was it? Is there anything in your childhood that may trigger you?
Yeah.
That will disrupt your peace. Right? So
that's something I usually ask, when I'm meeting someone and they're pursuing me, and a lot of men clam up at that question because I guess the fear of being vulnerable, or they were always taught not to talk about that or be strong, or, and I feel like men do need a safe space to be able to open up and say, these are things that I went through. It's not who I am, but it's some of the things I had to recover from.
True.
And feel safe in knowing that it's not going to be thrown back at them. They're not going to be belittled by it. Same thing with women. And I see so often in relationships where people are with each other, but they're not safe with each other.
Right.
They confide in people outside of a relationship because they can't even be vulnerable with one another.
And I think that comes about when two people come together and they're not intentional about building a solid foundation. Right. Because a lot of people, when they get together, they just focus on chemistry. But you have to focus on compatibility, right? Because they're going to come a time like for me, a year into the marriage, I got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, right? So my physical appearance changed, right? So if we just built that foundation off of chemistry,
Hallelujah.
you know,
I had to take a break.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
But yeah, if we just focus on the chemistry and we had no compatibility, what happens where we're not able to be intimate like that?
Right.
You know, so I think it's important for even in the dating period where you're intentional about building a foundation, under building a friendship, right? Because you know, 50 years from now, you're not going to have the same body.
Right.
So you have to be able to be friends. And can I sit with this beautiful woman in silence? Right. And we still understand each other. Like, that's where you want to take it. You know what I mean? So I think that's really the major thing. Most people just lack communication from the beginning.
Yeah. Because they put sex first.
Sex first.
You know, and when sex is introduced early on, it could be some amazing sex. Yeah. And you can already feel like, well, look, we're going to go ahead and enter into a relationship because that is your way of giving yourself a permission statement for having all this sex, because now you can say, well, that's my man. That's my girl.
Let me just, ladies, don't get blinded by the D.
Yes, okay.
Don't get blinded. Don't get blinded.
And then, you know, but then the chemistry is so great up front, but you didn't build any type of foundation. So you look up a year later and you don't even like this. You don't like them.
You don't like them.
Don't have nothing in common, but you had some great sex.
Yeah. Or he's saying, she ain't going home. Like,
yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely want to be friends and you want to have those tough conversations. Yeah. Those tough conversations are what's not happening in there.
But here's the deal, though. So women sometimes have to give men grace. And here's what I say about that. Most men did not grow up understanding how to properly communicate, right? Because, you know, you had your mom, your aunts, and y'all were just talking, you'll hear them talk about this and talk about their problems. We didn't have that. So like me, a lot of men, unfortunately, have to learn how to communicate. Right. And that within itself has to be vulnerability to listen to your boy, right? So, you know, one thing I do value about like the group of guys that I'm around, the husbands, is, you know, we real with each other. You know, we talk about like, hey, man, you got to be vulnerable with your wife, man. You know, you have to do this, you have to do that. So I think what I'm looking to do next is really build that platform of just talking to the men, just like, hey, if this is what you're looking for, if it's not what you're looking for, they're not going to do it anyway.
It's like an affirmation.
Right.
Sometimes we just need to be reminded. That's why we buy self-help books, because we want to be better. Right. And, you know, I look at you as like a self-help for me, because I can go and you'll post a meme and I'll be like, share.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
You know, because you just hit it right on the nail. So what do we have to look forward from Landon Taylor? Are you doing any future speaking engagements? Are you releasing any new projects?
So the wife and I, we're looking to kick up the Couples Society. Okay. So we were going real tough right before I got diagnosed. You know, if you guys want to take a look at the blogs on there, it's pretty cool. I talk about
Couples Society.
Yeah, I talk about you know, the second time around for me. My wife talks about being the second wife, but we also try to touch on different things that couples go through.
Now, you also offer certain services there on the website. I saw that. Are those coaching?
Yes, so we do coaching, and for couples that are dating or dating to be married, or even if you just like yourself, just someone who just wants to talk it out and just see what's up. We offer those services. If you are a married couple, or like I said, a couple dating to be married, we have an assessment that you can take as a couple, and you can either go through it yourself as a couple, or we can help facilitate that to talk through it. Sometimes you just need an unbiased opinion.
Yeah, for real.
We offer those services.
You know, I have like all these questions in my head, but I don't even have enough time to cover it all. So I wanted to ask you, like, in your second go round of getting married, you know, I'm making it about you, but I feel like that's the only way that I can get like a really, because you can't give us a blanket answer, because everyone is not you. Right. But when you decided that you were going to be intentional and you engaged with your wife, did you guys have a a plan at that time that you immediately go into planning. I see relationships that go into planning, they tend to flourish. Like, I've seen people get engaged in 3 months, get married in 3 months. So that's 6 months in, they're married. 3 months later, they're buying a house. 3 months later, they're investing into Airbnbs. That's right. 3 months later, somebody dropped a clothing line. I'm like, wait a minute, is this the new? This is the new. And that goes into partnership in love. Some people are in it as a business transaction, and so how do you know as a man, because I don't want to lose you in the question, when you decided to be with your wife, because a man that finds a wife finds a good thing, and you went into it and you guys made plans to be together and to grow. Did you go into it expecting to be able to completely provide for her?
Yes. So
not saying you had to.
Right. No. I know what you're saying. So in the beginning, yes, we did plan, and we were intentional about, like, hey, I think we want to move forward with this. Let's plan out what that looks like. I've told her from the jump, I'm gonna marry you, girl. She thought I was playing, but no, I'm like upfront and serious.
I like it when a man just say what he want and mean it.
Yeah.
Hint, not just playing.
Yeah. No, I mean, you have to be but women like that.
Yeah.
The man to take charge. Yeah. Right? You want a man
I intimidate you. I don't know what I'm gonna do with you.
Right. Not saying that I'm gonna make the decisions without her, but she likes to know that I'm able to take charge. But there are also times where I let her do her thing, But yeah, in the beginning, we just worked with each other, understood, because I needed to understand this woman.
Now, are you guys a blended family? That's what I want to
No, we neither one of us had kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. I'm like at this weird age, because I'm in my 40s.
Are you?
And so I'm at this age where I started having my kids really young. So I have a 25-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 17-year-old.
I don't believe it.
So my kids are grown. I'm a grandma too.
What?
So my grandson is about to be 5 in October. So now I'm in an older age group. So the guys that I'm meeting, well, in my dating world, it's older, because the guys that are in their 40s or late 38s, early 40s,
that's me.
They either are just starting with children or just had started their lives with. They're single.
Yeah.
They may have small children, or they may have like older parents that they're looking after. So it's a weird dynamic for me, being an empty nester, starting over, meeting guys that have children. I don't have anything against it.
Sure.
I'm just saying it's just different things that I have to consider.
It's different.
Like the roles for me has reversed, whereas before when my children were small, it was like, well, I don't have a sitter, I don't have, and then when I meet guys that are single, they're kind of like playing the field. They're not intentional with their dating. And I think that when I state that I'm an intentional dater, which means that I'm not just out here just casually willy-nilly, and it lacks luster. So the ratio men to women is like, okay, well, I'll just call up such and such and such and such. So here I am almost 4 years later, like convinced that there's really piss in the dating pool. So I don't have the ability to kind of sift through. I lose the patience in it. You sit down.
You got to be patient.
You go through the whole, what's your favorite color? I'm like, that's so cliche. But you know what I mean? You go through the whole getting to know you phase, and then the mask falls off in 90 days, and the true person comes out.
Well, see, the getting to know you phase doesn't have to be that, right?
Yeah.
One thing you have to work on as a couple anyway is a recreational companionship. So the getting to know you phase, and you could be creative about that, right? If you want to know how he performs in different situations, you can create that scenario.
Explain that. You got to go back to that, because I'm trying to figure out if you want to know how he performs in different.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know how he is able to be a provider, if that's what you're looking for, I mean, you can just create those scenarios where the conversation comes up casually.
Okay.
Right? It could be while y'all having fun and dancing.
Okay.
You know, like,
yeah. Don't make it so heavy.
Don't make it heavy. You know, at the end of the date, you know, the tip come out and say, okay, I see you, big baller. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
What's your financial plan?
You know, I actually had a guy tell me when I talk like a pimp. I didn't get that.
I think it's the southern. Are you from Houston?
I'm from Houston. But my folks are from Opelousas.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, but my daddy talk like I talk.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up.
It may be a Texas thing though.
Yeah.
It may be that Texas twang.
Yeah.
I'm a Mississippi boy.
Okay, so
when you say blended family, we blended because I'm from Mississippi, she's from California, so we like the odd couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know that actually works.
Yeah.
So are you guys like you into a lot of things, like same books, same things, but are you different in different ways?
Yes. So I am actually an introverted extrovert.
Oh, I know exactly. That's me. Okay.
Yeah, and she is kind of an extroverted
I'm an Aquarius.
introvert.
You Aquarius?
Me and my wife were both Virgos.
Virgos. Okay, look. Okay,
yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah, so she's opposite. Like she's an extrovert, but she also can do her own thing like by herself.
Yeah.
Right. Me, I'm good. I can just chill at the house.
Yeah.
So, you know, but when I'm out, you know, you wouldn't know. Right. So yeah, that's just how we are.
I like it. I am enjoying the conversation. I know we could talk all night and I can probably just dig in your ear. But if those that are inspired by this conversation, if they want to keep up with you, you have an Instagram page at the Landon Taylor. You guys make sure you go click on that follow button, scroll down that timeline, get inspired and intrigued at the same time. He also has a Twitter page for our Twitter lovers, so you can also follow him there, catch his tweets so you don't miss a good inspirational quote on your daily basis. He also have a website. He has two actually, but the first one I'm going to talk about right now is The Other Side of Goodbye. Make sure you go to The Other Side of Goodbye, get your book, and have a reflective moment with him. And also going on over to the Couples Society. Yes, make sure that you check out the blog, see the content, check out the services that they offer, and if you can use some, make sure that you book. And I want to thank you again for coming on Outside the Box.
Long overdue. We got to do this again.
Yeah, we do, because the 30 minutes went by so
too fast.
fast.
You know, folks, if you want to do a part 2, just drop it in the comments section.
Yes, I actually want to do one with your wife, because I want to get her perspective on, you know, finding the one.
Yeah,
you know, and I would love to know her take on what it was like after getting engaged after 6 months.
Yeah, because she can tell you about just the whole transition with the whole dealing with the cancer thing and being because she, you know, young woman, she had to deal with that. So we overcame a lot.
That's beautiful.
It's a testament.
Love wins.
All the time.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I want to remind you that we are on multiple platforms. You can find that one works for you. Make sure that you find us on YouTube so that you can subscribe to our channel as well. Hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you can be notified when new segments drop. Also, you can find us on A-Star TV on Thursdays at 7. Find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, any platform that works for you. Check us out on Hip Hop Streets as well. I'm your host, Onney, the CEO. I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode. You're now plugged in, tuned in, tapped in to Outside the Box.